Rim Country Forum today being brought to you by Banner Payson Medical Center, George Henry Plumbing, Heating and Cooling, At Your Service Cleaning and Tree Service, ITD Group Computer Services, Anytime Fitness, and Hospitality Wireless. Well, good, finally Friday morning, 4 minutes past 9 o'clock, 78 degrees. Yep, it's Friday. That means it's time to talk to the movie guys. We have Tina and Craig in the studio with us today. Andy couldn't be here, but we'll look forward to having him back here again next week. In the meantime, talking about everything going on at the Sawmill Theaters and ever so much more with our hometown movie guys right here in the studio. How y'all doing this morning?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Happy 4th extended.
There you go.
Yes.
All right. And this morning we've got a number of things to tell you about as far as what's going on at the Sawmill Theaters, but also wanted to, we've got a couple things for you to be thinking about. We're going to be talking a little bit about meat in movies, and as in like food, meat, you know, bacon, things like that. Also, kind of interesting idea, you know, it's been getting the wheels in my wee little brain turning. Craig says, hey, how about the best death scenes in a movie? Best death scenes in a movie. And a couple of unusual ones come to mind, so we'll be finding out more about that. But right now, I need to find out about everything that's going on at the Sawmill Theaters. You got, we had a movie start on Tuesday this week, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah, well, the studios do that occasionally when we have, you know, a big holiday like this, so they try to get a little bit of a jump on it.
And so when they're saying in our over our first weekend, we got this much, and their first weekend was actually like 4 days long.
Yeah, well, this case will be, yes,
Yeah.
six on this one, yeah.
Wow, if I ran out of fingers, I'd take my shoe off for a second.
But yeah, we had Spider-Man come out on Tuesday.
Okay.
Spider-Man, Far From Home.
And I see the Arizona Republic gave that 4 stars.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I got to watch the last hour of it last night.
Right, so
good stuff.
Good
Yeah,
special
stuff.
effects and everything?
Yeah, I watched it in 3D. Really awesome.
It's good.
Wow. And I'm just assuming, and I don't mean to make too many assumptions, but I'm assuming Tina has not seen this one yet.
Not yet.
Not yet, but you're going to,
I think so.
right?
Yes.
Now, and you normally go check out the movies on Friday.
I often do.
Yeah, and are you going to do that today?
Yes.
And what are you going to go see today?
Probably Spidey.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah.
So Spider-Man Far From Home, following the events of Avengers Endgame, Spider-Man must step up to take on new threats in a world that has changed forever. Plays at 1:15, 4:15, and 7:15, and every one of those shows you can see in 2D or 3D. I say this a lot, and I'll say it some more. I'm pretty darn impressed with the 3D technology today versus the stuff that was out there when I was a kid, where you had the glasses with one red lens and one blue lens. It was, I mean, it was neat, but it's not like the 3D stuff that they're doing these days. It's pretty amazing.
No, this stuff really is good. And with, a Spider-Man movie where you've got him, flying around on webs and stuff, it really, that just adds to the, the 3D effects on this. So it's really neat.
Rated PG-13, so pretty much good for everybody.
Yeah, like I say, I watched it, the second half last night. I don't know if you want to bring the real little ones in there, but, up to 10 years old, I don't think any problems at all.
Yeah, very cool. And now, while we're talking kids real quick, one of the other things that we need to mention is your summer kids movies are back. And for just $5, the kids get in and get to see a movie, and it includes a small drink and a small popcorn. And, this last Thursday, matter of fact, that was yesterday, on July 4th, you were showing Kung Fu Panda. And on Monday at 10:30 in the morning, you're going to be showing Ice Age.
Ice Age, yes.
Has you been getting lots of kids out to these kind of
They're
things?
doing pretty good,
I think it'd be a fun thing. Kids are always, I want to do something. Okay, fine, we'll watch a movie.
There you go, yep.
I love
It's
it.
just $5 and you get a small drink and a small popcorn with it.
Sweet. And so you've been getting some pretty good crowds out for those.
Not too bad, not too bad.
Good. All right, now, one of the other things we want to mention too, going on tomorrow, as you may recall, the Sawmill Theaters on the first Saturday of the month have their Saturday morning classic movie. And this Saturday, tomorrow at 10 a.m., and again, you can get in for just $5, is Grease. And I would think that watching this musical, I mean, it's a favorite from years gone by, but to see it on the big screen and with the great sound system that you have there and everything, you remember the movie, Good Girl Sandy and Greaser Danny fell in love over the summer. They'll be able to rekindle their romance in high school, maybe? Well, you'll have to find out. And, of course, John Travolta and
Olivia Newton-John.
All I could think of was, have you ever been mellow? It's like, I can't get some of those songs out of my head. Anyway, Olivia Newton-John, that was an epic. I mean,
1978, by the way.
was that 78?
Yeah.
Wow. time flies
She's
when
a
you're having fun.
sweetheart, I knew her in
Yeah.
Australia.
Set in the 1950s, but
Yeah.
boy, I just think that'd be great. And you've been getting some pretty good crowds out for these classic movies,
Yeah,
right?
not too bad.
Yeah, especially the musicals seem to have been doing pretty well.
Pacing those musicals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very
And
cool.
musicals love pacing.
There you go. And now, if you're saying to yourself, I don't like musicals. Well, how about, if you're going to be that way about it, why don't you watch Annabelle Comes Home? The Possessed Doll. So just a little editorial comment
But
there.
does she sing?
The possessed doll is locked in the attic room of the Warrens' home, but Annabelle awakens the evil spirits. Now, this is rated R, not a good one for the kids. Plays at 1:30, 4:30, and 7:30. And it's another one of these great little, just heartwarming stories about a doll that just wants to slash everyone to bits,
Yes, good stuff.
basically. Yeah. Some people really like, I know a daughter and a granddaughter, that they just love a good horror movie. That's just what they're into.
Well, it's the weight loss thing, remember?
Oh, that's right, we were just
said that
talking
in the
earlier, you
fitness,
can actually,
so-
burn calories.
What are
by
the
going-
calories with Annabelle?
I don't know.
Just sit there, eat popcorn, and burn more than you're eating.
And you'll lose so much weight, you'll look like a creepy little doll when it's all over and done with. And speaking of little folks, how about Toy Story 4? Obviously a big success in that they've done 3 before and they decided to do another one. Now, unlike a lot of these movies, this one's actually rated G. And when a new toy called Forky joins Woody and the gang, a road trip alongside old and new friends reveals how big the world can be for a toy. It plays at 1, 4, and 7. All of those showings are in 2D, and I'm guessing this has probably done pretty good at the box
Oh,
office
it's
so
done
far.
great. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's up over $500 million it's made already.
So there's a lot more than just kids going to see this.
Oh, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, Andy went, he cried.
Well, Andy cries during some of the commercials here at KMOG. So,
Yeah, I cried on those two, but I didn't cry, but I loved it, I really
Yeah,
did.
really? Oh, so you went and saw it?
Yes,
Yeah.
it's just adorable, everybody should see it.
One of the
Take
things.
the littles, take the littles. you know?
They've always got some good morals to the story and stuff
Yeah.
like that are hidden in between a lot of pretty funny one-liners, and I mean it's good for people of all ages.
Mhm.
Outstanding. Now another movie that we've had kind of mixed reviews on, the MIB International, Men in Black. This is the 4th iteration.
4th, yes.
Yeah, and the Men in Black have always protected the Earth from the scum of the universe. In this new adventure, they tackle their biggest threat to date, a mole in the MIB. It's rated PG-13, plays at 1:15, 4:15, and 7:15. All of those are in 2D. And, now, you mentioned last week, Craig, that this hasn't been doing quite as good as the 3 before it.
No.
In a word, no. and the longer version is heck no.
Mr. Laconic here.
Well, this is the first one that doesn't have Will Smith in it.
Right.
Chris Hemsworth is kind of taking over the lead role on this one.
Right.
I guess just not really the same hype that the other ones.
The original actors, I thought, were good. What's his face?
Tommy Lee.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got that kind of face that looks like if he smiles, it's going to crack and fall into pieces. But I mean, he played that Joe Friday sort of persona
Yes,
really
yeah.
well.
Yes,
yeah.
Just the facts.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah, and Will Smith, went over to Aladdin, in which he was wonderful.
Right.
But honestly,
So he went from Men in Black to Men in Blue.
and made a genie in blue.
Well, whatever's right. But so it's not been doing quite as well.
Well, you might be getting a little, they call it franchise fatigue.
Ah, okay.
Where you're, on the 4th one, it's, the first one was great, really, original.
I thought some of the strange aliens that they had in some of the first ones were really pretty creative. Did they have any new ones in this one?
I've not seen it.
I haven't. Andy's seen it, but he's not here.
I'm sure they do.
Always have to
Oh,
hang out
sure.
with the zombies
Andy,
today.
if you're hearing, call in, you gotta tell us about it. Yeah.
No, I'm sure there's some new aliens in
Yeah,
there.
I gotta love it. They're pretty creative when it came to that kind of stuff. Now, rounding out the slate at the Sawmill Theaters is The Secret Life of Pets 2, continuing the story of Max and his pet friends following their secret lives after their owners leave them for work or school each day. And again, this is rated PG, good for the whole family. Plays at 1, 3:10, 5:20, and 7:30. And I know the first one I thought was pretty darn funny, in that there is I think many of us have had pets at one time or another that you wonder, what the heck has that dog been doing while I was at work today? I mean, this place is a disaster. And apparently this kind of helps fill in some of the gaps. I've seen the trailer, and You know, you got two of them jumping up and down in front, and we leave a TV on for our dogs occasionally, especially during monsoon season when there might be thunder and stuff, but they're jumping up and down, you know, barking at a butterfly, and there's a cat in the room saying, it's just on TV, right? And the part that I really got a kick out is all of a sudden the gal from the insurance, oh crud, just like that. I can't remember her name, or you know, the gal that dressed up like a baker, but she
Flo?
Yeah, Flo
Oh,
from Progressive.
Flo, yeah.
Yeah, and they're all talking about, hey, you know, what, you're saying that this gal dressed up like a baker is actually selling insurance? And then the other guy that's in a lot of the shows shows up and like, I suppose he sells insurance too, huh? Never did figure out why they're wearing aprons, but at any rate, all of that said, The Secret Life of Pets 2 promises to be a lot of fun for the whole family. And how's that one been working out so far?
It's done good too.
Yeah.
You know, the one, actually, I think a pretty good lineup, you know, a couple of kids movies,
Yeah.
couple sci-fis, and then horror films.
Right, and a musical
And
on tomorrow.
Grease.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to get back to Grease for a moment, it has a few people in it that are, you know, for us older folks. Stockard Channing, she was always one of my favorite actresses. She's
Any woman with the name Stalker, I try and stay away from.
Stockard.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
Never mind.
yes. And Joan Blondell, Eve Arden, Sid Caesar, and Ed Cookie
Eve
Burns,
Arden,
and
huh.
Frankie Avalon make
Wow.
appearances.
Frankie, and that goes way back
Yeah.
to Beach Blanket Bingo.
You
and
got
stuff,
it. Well, it's set in the 50s.
Right?
Yeah.
Where's
So-
Annette Funicello when you need her?
Oh, man.
And today is National Bikini Day, by the way.
Oh,
The anniversary of the origin of the bikini, first debuted on this date back in 1946.
yes, and of course, the best bikini, I think, in movies would be when Ursula Andress came out of the water in Dr. No.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
With the belted bikini. Yeah.
And it
she's-
wasn't even a tiny bikini.
And we were just, Mike and I were talking/jockeying over a photograph of her this morning when we were talking about bikinis. And then he just completely spoiled it for me when he said, yeah, she's 90-some years old now.
Mm-hmm.
That just ain't right. I shouldn't be looking at those bikini pictures anymore. But anyway, such is life in the fast lane here. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, we've got a little bit more we want to talk about as far as the movies playing at the Sawmill Theaters, and of course, taking your calls with comments or questions at 474-2427. I'm going to talk about meat in the movies and best death scenes in movies. I think it's kind of an interesting mix of topics this morning. We'll find out more about all of that right after all of this.
How about Catch-22, where the aircraft comes along and whopping the guys?
I just resaw that. That is.
What movie is that?
22.
Huh?
What movie?
That's an amazing
Catch-22.
movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it would never be made today.
Yeah,
That's-
I saw a joke the other day. Guy was talking about his grandmother, Booby, B-U-B-B-E, and she was doing 70 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone, and she got pulled over. And the cop says, "Can I see your license?" She says, "I don't have a license." And he says, "Really? Well, where did you get the, why are you driving a car?" "Well, I stole it." And he goes on, "Well, who'd you steal it from?" "Well, I don't know, the guy's in the trunk, I told him."
Not a
That's all
real
they say like that. So he gets all excited, calls his backup in, they come roaring in there, and they open the trunk, and it's empty. And they go, the backup guy goes to the door and asks for a license. She had her license, insurance. She says, "My partner told me that you had a dead body in the trunk and you stole the car." She says, "Yeah, he probably told you I was speeding too."
Well done. Well done. All right, we have 10 seconds.
Can be part of your medical team without you being a patient. Find out more at Banner Health.
So we want to talk meat first?
Banner Patient Medical
No,
Center.
let's talk
Banner
death.
Healthcare.
Then we
Right
Talk
here.
death.
Then we can talk meat. It'll gross everybody out.
Welcome back to Rim Country Forum. 18 minutes now past 9 o'clock, and we're at 79 degrees, looking for a high
And
of
Randy's making us
92.
laugh.
More on the weather coming up. What was that, Dean?
Randy's making us laugh.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's my job.
Yes.
At least I try anyway. Hey, one of the things, Craig, you brought up the idea this morning, and I think it's kind of an interesting one, of best death scenes in a movie. At first glance, it might seem a little creepy, but when asked, well, especially if it's your character, when I asked you what you thought the best death scene in a movie of all time was, you came up with one that's pretty hard to argue with, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, Quinn from Jaws.
Oh, yeah, when he's,
That falls into the meat category too.
right, there you go, that's a double win there.
Yeah, you know, white sharks are not vegan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the other guy in the boat saying, I told you we needed a bigger boat.
Yeah.
But, well, anyway, it's, that was a pretty
Yeah.
crushing death scene,
That was a good
Yeah.
one. That was a good
Yeah.
one.
That's Robert Shaw too, the great
right?
Robert Shaw.
And he was in lots of different
Oh,
movies over the
man.
years, yeah.
He's in, just a segue, you know, because I'm like, you know, the dogs in Up, squirrel.
The queen of segues.
Yeah, he was in, oh my gosh, Man for All Seasons, I believe it was.
Really?
Yeah, and he's always been just an amazing actor. Oh, and The Taking of Pelham 123, where they hijack the subway. And it has one of like the great lines in it where, you know, the guy from the subway is just frustrated because they've got this hostage situation and, you know, it's I think it was in the 70s. And he finally throws down his pen and he says, what do they want for their 35 cents to live forever?
There you go.
And 35 cents for the subway in New York City.
That goes to show how long ago that was made.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Yeah.
wow, interesting.
No, I agree with Craig. That is an epic.
You know,
Yes.
that's Spielberg doing those.
Yes.
He kind of has, I guess that's not really his reputation, but if you think about Spielberg stuff, Indiana Jones with the
Oh my goodness,
with the
yes.
Nazis
Yep.
melting at the end of it, you know.
That
those
was
were-
pretty, that was pretty epic,
Yeah,
yeah.
those
Yeah.
were some. He pushed.
Told
the-
you not to open the ark, you know?
You know, Spielberg pushed the boundaries on some of these
He
movies.
did.
Right.
You know, I mean, Jaws was pretty gruesome.
Well, and it's kind of interesting how they pulled that into Raiders of the Lost Ark, though, too. And that, I mean, there's, you know, biblical passages that talk about, you know, the woes that will, you know, come upon someone who opens up the, you know, the ark. And
Yep.
people that even just tried to steady it when it was bouncing around on a cart ended up taking a dirt nap. So, I mean, it's, you know, interesting how they weaved that all in.
You know, I believe this was with the kind of the onset of the PG-13 rating.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I think
Right,
we were just
think
at
he's
PG
right,
and
yeah.
R at one point, you know, back
Yeah.
in the
Or
late
G
70s.
and R, right, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really have these different ratings, and with Spielberg kind of, and I think it was, you know, Indiana Jones and Jaws, it kind of, you know.
This might be a little
yeah,
spooky.
well, you know,
Yeah.
they were definitely, you know, too much for a PG, but maybe not enough for an R, so they brought in that PG-13 to kind of cut down the middle.
You know, when it comes to Jaws, I've seen so many times since that they'll have some big, you know, to-do at the beach, and they'll have a big screen up there, and people will be out floating in the
Floating.
water watching Jaws. And part of me thinks that'd be kind of fun, and part of me thinks that might just be way too creepy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man,
Couldn't do it,
when
no.
that movie came out, my parents were still living in Jamaica, and, you know, the Caribbean is a beautiful place to swim, and when I went home, I really literally couldn't go in the water, and I never had a problem before.
Wow.
But I just, you know, you just think something, oh, and the first scene, actually, you know, the first scene is pretty epic, you know, where that woman's swimming and then all of
Oh,
a
yeah.
sudden,
Boom.
you know, that's how it opens.
Right.
Yo.
Yeah, it got my attention. You know, I think back too, when it comes to gratifying death scenes. I mean, in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I thought that was pretty gratifying, that all of a sudden, you know,
Yeah,
God says,
definitely.
okay, you want to mess with my ark, here you go. But as a kid, I would say that by far the most gratifying death scene that I ever saw was in The Wizard of Oz. You know,
no.
well, there was two great ones. First, they dropped the house on the Wicked Witch of the east or west or north or whatever direction that was. And then at the end there, the Wicked Witch of the west gets some water sprinkled on her, and oh, you're melting me. What a world, what a world. Yeah, well, anyway, I found that very gratifying as a child, and still look back fondly on those moments. Meanwhile, people at Southwest Behavioral Health are going to be contacting me in a moment. I think you
Right.
need to come in and see us.
Another memorable death is in Blade Runner,
Ooh.
when the replicant, played by Rutger Hauer, I believe, yeah, he, and I saw the director's cut after it came out, then they resurrected it, and that's Ridley Scott, and it's a much longer scene. You know, the replicants were programmed that they couldn't live a long time because people were afraid that they would take over. And there's just a poignant scene, and Rutger Hauer says, "Time to die," and you know, he died.
Say hello to my little friend.
That's a good death scene.
Yes, yeah, there are, when you think about it, I mean, yeah, it's kind of creepy to be talking about death scenes, but there are some that, have really, I don't know, kind of just become iconic, when it comes to movies over the years and stuff. So we're asking you, if you were going to pick the ultimate death scene, whether it was something where, the bad guy finally bites it, or whatever, give us a call, let us know, 474-2427. I look back at one of the original Batman movies, and I don't remember which person was playing Batman in this one, but when the Joker is tossed off let go off the top of the building and falls to meet
Oh,
a,
yeah, that was
what's his face?
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson,
Yeah.
yes. And, and so to me, that was gratifying. But now on another note, because we always get notes from Michelle, our business office here.
She's a movie guy.
Yeah, she is. And she brought up a great one too, a whole different reason for it to be a great death scene, but I have to agree with her, probably, in my opinion, one of the best, and that was Braveheart.
I was just gonna say that,
Yeah.
I had made a note, yeah.
Freedom!
That is the most poignant
Yeah.
death scene I can think of.
And, I don't know how Hollywoodized all of that was, as far as, departures away from historical documented fact, and if any of that was actually documentable back in those days, but still, Braveheart, that was a great movie. I enjoyed the heck out of that one.
Mhm.
And at 25 minutes past the hour, we have another caller on the line. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum, good morning.
Ooh, right
that's-
on.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So what was it about that one, caller, that stands out with you? I think that's true. That was a great one. And the Cowboys, boy, trying to think, that was probably, what, mid-70s, something like that? Do we know? Anyone know how old that movie was?
I think it was 70s.
It's back a ways anyway.
It's back a ways.
Hey, good point though. Thanks for
Misty
calling with
past.
that. Interesting. So, an unusual question this morning, but as you've already heard, it can go a lot of different directions from, as far as death scenes, Braveheart to the whatchamacallit,
Well, if you think,
Wizard of Oz.
if you break it down into, subcategories, heroic death scenes,
Right.
Braveheart is definitely heroic. Leon the Professional with Jean Reno, with the very beautiful little,
Natalie Portman.
yes, Natalie Portman. That is one of my favorite movies. It's, about a hitman who takes a young girl under his wing to become a hit girl.
Wow.
But, she has good reason because Gary Oldman, playing the baddest of bad DEA creeps, has killed her whole family.
Oh, wow.
And, and so, I mean, that's, if you...
So they suck you into feeling empathetic for her and that you kind of like what she's gotten into then.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's...
All right, so you're for the
But
hit people.
I mean, it is a spoiler, death scene, sorry guys, but, try to see that, Leon the Professional, very good.
Leon the Professional.
Yes, with Jean Reno.
Easy for you to say.
Yes, it is.
Back to the phones again, 27 minutes past the hour. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Good morning. Hi there. Ooh, now that's an interesting one, yeah. I hadn't thought about that. So from the Star Trek series, The Wrath of Khan, when Spock finally... what is it about that one that stood out to you, Steve?
With the needs of the few, yeah.
Very good. Wow, I forgot all about that. And it's such an interesting question. Again, it can go so many different directions. Thanks, by the way, Steve. So many different directions when it comes to best death scenes.
How about Platoon?
Oh,
When Charlie
definitely,
Sheen
definitely.
Yeah,
finally caps Tom Berenger.
that was a gratifying.
Yeah.
That
That
was.
was-
Tom Berenger played some really good bad guys.
Yeah, he's-
that was a great role for him.
Yeah.
He's got a dark side to some of the roles he's played.
Yeah.
But that was one that I think, I don't think I saw that in the theater, but if I had, I would assume that people were probably cheering at that point in the theaters. It'd be kind of hard not to.
Well, yeah, when he killed William Dafoe.
Yeah.
When he did that
Oh,
sort of.
yeah, he needs killing.
Well,
No, great bad guy.
Yeah,
But he's also a great good guy.
And as
Yeah.
witnessed in his most recent movie about Vincent van Gogh, he is also a pretty good weird guy too.
Oh, yeah.
All right, 29 minutes past the hour, back to the phones. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum, good morning.
Oh, yes.
Ooh,
I agree. That, in fact, that movie is full of death. And
love
that
the
is
smell
a
of watered
mem-
buffalo in the morning, smells like bacon. Yeah. Anyway, wow,
Stop.
that's a good one though. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
Apocalypse Now, I mean, and then you're talking about, you know, Platoon, Hamburger Hill, so many of these that had, you know, amazing death scenes, and some of which, you know, to really pull it off, I mean, it's pretty astounding, some of the special effects that are being used these days to make that stuff that much more believable. But good points, I like it.
Yeah, and segueing yet again,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be a human death. If,
Oh.
one of the movies that I saw countless times, 2001: A Space Odyssey, in which Hal, the computer, dies.
Yeah, well, he needed
You
to.
know, yes, yes, and that scene where he's singing Daisy and then he loses his marbles, well, so to speak.
Right.
That's a very, very interesting, you know, prescient thing to, okay, computers today.
Yeah,
You know, take Hal and give us Alexa and you've got it,
he
right?
had some kind of meltdown in his
Yeah,
you know, what is it, semiconductor diode rectifier.
right.
Yeah, or one of those things. Back to the phones again. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Thanks for calling. Hi there, how you doing? Oh,
Hey.
oh yes.
I like the death scene, so I try to stay away from the death scenes, but I'd have to say Passions of the Christ.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I mean,
you know
it
what?
doesn't get any better than
No,
that.
I mean,
That-
that's the
ultimate.
top.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it. We did, but we forgot.
Now, I know we had Shea Boulevard. There's a few different boulevards.
Is it Frank Lloyd Wright?
Oh, Frank Lloyd Wright.
Hey, I love him. Yeah, and you know, just segueing yet again, there's that great Simon and Garfunkel song, "So Long, Frank Lloyd Wright."
Ah, there you go.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Boy, he had some amazing properties.
Yeah.
And, you know, she brings up an interesting point of you know, gosh, as a kid, I mean, was there anything more horrific than, you know, Bambi looking at mom and dad dying in the fire or something like that? I mean, I know as a kid, that was like, oh, I can't believe they did that. Oh, well.
And we had, you know, for August, our classic movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Ooh.
There's that
Oh.
final shootout scene.
And that's at 9 o'clock, right? I
I
think, maybe?
gotta look at that runtime on that, yeah.
I think it's a
It's
long
a
one.
long one, yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna need an intermission.
Well, you know, speaking of intermissions, we have to take a break here and get you caught up on today's weather. And before we do, though, I just wanted to mention real quick, you know, if you would like to get a look at you know, what goes on behind the scenes here on Friday mornings with the movie guys, you can go on to YouTube and look for the Don Klein channel, Klein with a C. Look for the Don Klein channel, and you'll actually see Don's over here in the corner videotaping us right now. And he handed me a note a moment ago that I think a lot of people would believe or agree with, and that is that in one of those you know, more gratifying death scenes, I guess, the time when, you know, you're just glad to see that character get taken out. Alien.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
it
get
gets-
away from her, you witch. I am paraphrasing.
Yeah, it was something like that, yeah. Anyway, so looking for your opinions, best death scenes in a movie. Say that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
And we'll be back with more right after this.
This weather is being brought
Dr.
to you by
Strangelove.
Country Power Sports and Star
Dr.
Valley.
Strangelove.
Yeah,
Well, I know I've seen that, but
where he
I'm not-
rides, oh
ATVs,
gosh.
side
But
by
he- and that's
sides,
Cooper.
trailers, outdoor,
Cooper,
and power
yes.
equipment.
Yeah,
Okay, and
he
we'll
rides
see
the
weather
bomb down.
forecast for Friday,
Oh, right,
July
And they're
5th.
singing, we'll
Sunny
meet
and breezy
again,
in Red
don't know
Country
where,
today.
don't know when.
Mason's high should be right around
And that goes along with
92 degrees.
going back to,
81
what's his
for
face
high
from Men in
on
Black
top
on
of
the
it.
other one, what was
And
it?
our neighbors to the south, Antano Basin, and those headed out
the
to
one where
Roosevelt Lake. Your
he and what's his name have to go up and get on an asteroid and blow it up.
Well, there
So
is a
it's
slight
not
Armageddon?
showers.
and he ends up, when
Armageddon.
he ends up going off to the moon by himself at the end
Your
there.
forecast is coming up right here on your
What's his name?
information station.
Tommy Lee Jones.
If you're looking
Um,
for an off-road, newer
and he gets,
or ATV,
he ends up on the moon by himself and he knows he's gonna run out of oxygen before. I think that was that Armageddon, wasn't it?
off-road.
Let's just stay on death. We can do meat another time.
What's that?
We can do meat another time. Let's stay on death.
That's
There's
what
so
my wife
many.
always says.
Yeah, really. Well,
Sorry, it's kinda like going home, man. I'm sorry.
you're as bad as Groucho, or as good as Groucho.
That's ridiculous, I never know.
Yeah, and the Boondock Saints. That's, the Boondock Saints, where those two bad guys get killed by a falling toilet.
Are you tired of your unreliable?
Ain't that the shit?
Well,
Well, here, you keep on recording during the.
Yeah, keep going.
Oops.
Oops.
All right, we got nothing there, and, all right, so we have a few more death scenes to talk about. We have 40
Oh, we've
seconds.
got a lot of them.
Fiber affordable, right through the airwaves, right to your home or business with high speed and truly unlimited data. No long waits trying to get somebody on a toll-free number. Hospitality Wireless
Oh,
even
I
does
got another
support ordering and question answering right on the phone with text messaging. Try that with the other guy's 800 number. Hospitality Wireless, guaranteeing our service for reliability, speed, and quality. Oh, did I
Scanners.
tell you you
Yeah.
can pay your bill with something that's affordable again for internet,
Guys,
phone, and
close up
TV?
in
12 seconds.
Hospitality
Yeah.
Wireless, 928-468-0000. Or shoot a text to 928-970-2065 to find out more. Hospitality Wireless.
And we're at 25 minutes in front of 10 o'clock, 80 degrees right now, looking for that high of 92 today. This morning on Rim Country Forum, as we do on Fridays, we have your hometown movie guys with us, Tina and Craig with us in the studio. Andy will hopefully be back with us next week. But in the meantime, this morning, one of the things we're asking about is your favorite death scenes in a movie. And obviously this has gone a lot of different directions as far as sometimes you know, the bad guy finally gets taken out and we find that gratifying. Other times, you know, the good guy, you know, is in a big heroic bunch of fluster, ends up, you know, biting the big one. But it goes there's a lot of different directions you can go with this.
So many different directions. We were talking about Dr. Strangelove, which is in my top 10. And Slim Pickens riding the bomb down at the end of the movie.
Right, right.
You know, where the whole world is going to blow up. Because the doomsday device, you know, why didn't the premier tell us about the doomsday device? Well, the premier loves surprises.
Huh, there you
know,
go.
well, the whole point of a doomsday device is for your enemy to know that you have one. Right?
That makes sense.
Yeah, but Dr. Strangelove,
You know,
fabulous.
it's been so long since I've seen that.
Peter Sellers playing 3 parts.
Really?
Oh man, he was just amazing.
And, you know, so well known just for Pink Panther stuff, but he went
Oh.
he went a lot of other directions with
He
his
was
acting.
in so many good movies. Being There, that's another big time favorite.
Interesting.
Yeah.
23 minutes in front of 10 o'clock. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Good morning. Hi. Oh, that was.
Oh, I think that's a good death scene. I think you're on.
That was a great one. I
Yeah.
agree completely. That was one of those gratifying things where, you know, you have to deal with this bad guy so long. I mean, you want to get in there and throw him off the plane yourself, you know.
Yeah, I
But,
know.
That's,
Very good.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Harrison Ford myself, but
Yeah.
Han Solo.
Oh, yeah.
When Kylo Ren kills his father.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Or for that matter, just when they froze him there for a while and that
Yeah.
one,
Oh, yeah.
that was kind of weird and
There's been a
strange.
few in Star Wars. Some
Yeah.
good stuff there.
There's some great, and I mean, one of these days we have to just revisit the best one-liners from movies.
Oh, yeah.
Because when it comes to Star Wars, I will always remember, what an amazing smell you've discovered. Anyway, thanks for the call. Open up
Yeah,
the phone line
really
again. Let us know what you think the best
Okay,
death
here's
scene.
another one.
Okay?
The Boondock Saints, which, you know, my top 10 has probably about 30 movies in it, but that's really one of my all-time favorites. And by the way, the Boondock Saints 2 is as good as the first one,
Really?
which is unusual. Yes, it doesn't have Willem Dafoe, but it has a woman in it who is just, she lives up to his role in the original Boondock Saints. But these two bad Russian guys, like the Russian mob, they get killed by a falling toilet. It's just so funny. Sorry, guys, I know, I'm an old, like,
So many one-liners,
I
so
drink,
little
I
time.
drink at the fountain of immaturity.
It's all good, it's all good. I don't, I have to sadly admit, I don't think I've seen those movies.
Oh, man, you
I
gotta
need to
see
go- I
those.
need to
I will
rent
watch
them.
them anytime
Really?
I can.
Boondock Saints.
Boondock Saints, very funny.
Oh, and Don just said, how about The Quick and the Dead?
Yes,
There's some, I mean, all kinds of death scenes in there.
yes. And of course, you know, our August movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, our classic movie, there's some
Right.
great death scenes in there.
So that's what's gonna be a month from tomorrow.
Yeah.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Ah,
Yeah, anyway. Sounds interesting. That ought to be
don't give
a.
up your day job.
Have you done any other westerns on the classic movie?
Yeah, we did McClintock.
Yeah,
Right.
way back, yeah.
I need to see Silverado.
Paint Your Wagon.
Oh, Paint Your Wagon, that was a good one.
That's
yeah,
a
yeah.
good, yeah, but Silverado.
That's just a favorite of mine.
Good movie.
And like some of what we've been talking about here, there was, you were talking about Jaws, and I think that, oh crud, who's the hairy-faced science type guy?
Richard Dreyfuss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the first movies I'd ever seen him in.
Right.
And he's been in a number since then, but I'm not sure, you know, if he was in anything of note prior to that or not, at least not that I noticed, which
Yeah.
means really pretty much nothing.
Yeah, you only pose as a movie guy.
That's right.
You're a poser.
That's right. Imposter. Hey, 20 minutes in front of 10 o'clock. Hi, back on the phone line again. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Good morning.
John Wick.
Yes, that was on my list. Thank you very much.
Now,
Boy.
John Wick movies, so I mean,
I mean, everybody dies
there's about
except him.
2,000 death
And the
scenes
dog.
in the movie, right?
Right, yeah.
Well, you don't want to take the dog out.
No, can't do that, no.
Well, Good point, though.
Yes,
So
very
what-
good.
What was your favorite part of the John Wick movie, caller?
Yeah. The guy that killed his puppy and sold his car.
Right,
Right? I like it. All right,
Yep,
so
yep.
the John, and those have been successful enough that you'd almost kind of expect to see another one, don't you, Craig? As far as the John Wick movies?
Yeah, you know,
they left it open.
Yeah, they'll keep going on these. Honestly, I wish they would quit on this one.
Yeah, so, and I have to agree with you.
You know, it seems they'll do this, they take a good movie and then they just keep doing sequel after sequel after sequel until, you know, the viewing audience just quits going. And it just kind of, to me, it can tarnish the original movies.
Well, and that's one of those too that, I mean, there's just so much shoot 'em up, cut 'em up, kill 'em up going on that, I mean, it kind of goes beyond the realm of reality.
Pirates of the Caribbean, I think, is a great example. You know, I mean, Jack Sparrow is a great character, but we're on 5 movies now.
Right.
And
And they still can't kill him because he's already
you just
dead.
got the same, you know, you're just
Right.
rehashing the same thing over and over again, and, you know, you can do 2 or 3 movies, I think, and it's good, but,
Right.
you know, once you start going past that, you're into, it's like Rocky, you know, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
you know, I mean,
What are we on, Rocky 12 now or something?
yeah, I mean, they're, you know, they're inspirational, they're great movies, you know, I like
Well,
to
at least
watch,
with-
you know, the underdog come back and,
At least with Pirates of the Caribbean, rum sales are way up, so that part's good. Back to the phones again. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Good morning. Hello? Last chance. All right, so we'll clear the phone lines again, and if you have, again, we're just talking about the best death scenes in a movie, not necessarily like, oh, wow, man, that guy really squirted and it was gnarly. You know, and we're just talking about whether it's their ability to act, the fact that you found that character finally being taken out of the movie a gratifying thing, or whatever it might be.
Well, or, you know, one of your favorite characters. A movie that doesn't get enough traction, but that my husband and I love, is called Serenity.
Mhm.
And it was, I think there was a series, Firefly? Yeah, and Wash, who is, you know, one of the main people in, you know, in the crew of this science fiction spaceship, he dies. Sorry, guys, spoiler, but it's a really good scene, and you know, just the way that it's handled at the end of the movie, it's really beautiful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, as far as death scenes too, sometimes I'm thinking just even the death scenes that just really heavily impacted you, and I'm looking back in my younger days, a movie that I still, anytime I see it playing on TV, I'll want to watch it, is Spencer's Mountain. And I remember as a
Yes.
kid, when the tree falls on Grandpa, that was, that was a pretty mood-altering moment for me, but for some reason that is stuck in my head for more decades than I care to admit. Another caller on the line. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Good morning. Very good. How are you? Good.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, that's, Dirty Harry.
And a lot of us women, we really like Dirty Harry. I mean, that's supposed to be a guy thing. Nah, it's a chick thing. Man, I love Clint.
Yeah, you just keep waiting for the day where you can say something like...
Make my day.
Yeah, well, punk, do ya? Anyway, good point, though.
Good point.
Dirty Harry, a lot of great movies there. And that was certainly a lot of shoot 'em up. Nothing like a 44 mag to rearrange things for people.
A movie that was just filled with death and just terrible tragedy. Legends of the Fall.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
I can't even watch that without melting down
It
into
was such a good
weeping.
film. Such a good film.
Yeah.
That, wow, just everyone.
Well, there was some
Yeah.
different things in Lord of the Rings at times, and then
Well, the Narnia.
That's- I was just gonna go-
Aslan, the death of Aslan.
yeah.
That kind of goes along with Passion of the Christ,
Mm-hmm.
because Aslan was the Christ figure in C.S. Lewis's book.
Right, and C.S. Lewis and what's his name were very close friends.
They hung out
Good old
together.
what's-his-face.
Yes, J.R.R.
Yeah.
And then Deborah Winger and Anthony Hopkins starred in A Life of C.S. Lewis, and I can't remember the name of it, but she had cancer, and he married this American woman who had a son, and she had cancer, and it was such a loss for him. He wrote some of his very, very moving books after her death,
Right.
or during her death, while she was suffering. So.
And of course, going on the schmaltzy, that's a technical term we use here sometimes, the schmaltzy side of things, another death scene that ripped at everybody's heart back in the day when it first came out was the movie Love Story.
Oy.
Yeah.
Except it did have the worst line in any movie ever.
Oh.
Love means
It's
never
never
having
having
to say you're sorry.
Yeah,
What a bunch of bullfeathers,
Not
right?
in my house, it
Not
don't.
in our house.
No, the saying that actually means survival. Don.
You get to live another day.
Don just handed me another note. He agreed Independence Day, as we talked earlier, had some great death scenes in it. I particularly like when Will Smith punches the alien in the face.
Yes.
And I guess that must have killed him because I never see him moving around after that. So
Yeah,
apparently it was a good
yeah.
cut. But he also brought up one, The Patriot.
Oh,
And The Patriot was, I think the
where
one.
his son.
Where his son is,
Right.
he's going to be burned at the stake, I think, right? And they end up, from a distance, ends up shooting him so
Yeah.
that.
With a girl burning to death in the church.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and there was a number of death scenes in there. And here comes Michelle again with a few other votes. Oh, yeah. And
Death and destruction is very
Yes.
popular today.
sorry to get so gnarly on y'all here. She said Gladiator.
Oh.
Gladiator.
Oh.
And there's one.
I shall be weeping like a bathtub
Yeah.
overflowing.
There's one where, you
Oh.
really want to see it as he takes Caesar out eventually, or whatever his
Yeah.
name was. That was gratifying,
Yeah.
although he dies in the process. And he said Tony Montana in Scarface.
Yeah. Say hello
To my little friend, yes.
Okay, and The Untouchables, when Sean Connery dies. He plays
Ooh.
Jimmy Malone,
Right?
and that was unexpected and so sad.
Good point.
That's a
I'd
great
forgotten
movie.
about that one. That is a
Yeah.
good one. Hey, we have to take a fast break, and we're going to come back and wrap things up with your hometown movie guys. Still enough time to take a few more calls. Your favorite death scene in a movie. It sounds kind of creepy, but obviously, if you've been listening, you can see that it takes us in a lot of different directions. So give us a ring. Let us know what you think. 474-2427, the number. Back with more right after this.
Our computer issues
That's
taking
the
time away
non-death.
from your
That, one of the Patriots, the girl that lost her life in the Patriots, I
Any
thought,
technology
Yeah.
issue, big or
The one that
small,
just falls back off the, no, you're talking about the one in the
in the
building.
church.
Yeah, I was thinking of the one, no, it's not, I was thinking Last of the Mohicans that falls off the waterfall. That's another bit of a death
All the
scene.
dogs together.
Yeah.
All the dog deaths, that's just one.
All the dog deaths.
Yeah.
Old Yeller, Marley and me.
Oh, man. That's a good point. There's a bunch of them we can talk about there.
Yeah. Thelma and Louise.
Oh, there you go.
He
He took the plunge.
Bonnie and Clyde.
Are you putting
And
out
The
the
Shining.
Shining? because you don't love.
They're doing another one.
You can't get
They're
what
doing
you
a
like.
sequel to The Shining,
This is what it
Really?
means
uh,
at Anytime Fitness.
Doctor
Take the
Sleep.
first step and
It's
watch
Ewan McGregor
celebrating delivery.
is the kid,
Our
the little
staff
kid,
trainers are
all grown up.
dedicated to your health and
I-
fitness.
and I guess,
24 hours a day, 365
Stephen King's
days
part
a
of
year.
it.
You can find us on our
But
website,
yeah, it's
Facebook, and
kind of,
Instagram.
We're located
20
next
years,
to
20,
Revere
30 years
at
after The
101
Shining.
South Beeline Highway,
Good.
Suite
Same
2.
location?
Stop in or call
No.
928-468-8000.
Aliens, oh yeah.
The Notebook.
Good point.
This month, Atlanta.
All right, so-
Buy a 5-quart jug of Valvoline full synthetic
Didn't we already
motor oil
talk
for
about
just
that?
$24.99. We're making a
Notebook?
donation
Yeah.
to the Intrepid Fallen
Wow.
Hero Fund,
That
which
is
means your purchase
one of the
makes a
saddest
difference.
deaths of all.
So
Yeah.
do some
She has
good
Alzheimer's.
and get a 5-quart
Yeah.
jug of Valvoline full synthetic for just $24.99. Quality parts,
Ooh,
helpful
Black
people.
Swan, which would
That's
be-
Napa know-how.
There will be blood.
General states pricing. Sales prices do not include applicable state and local taxes or recycling fees. Offer ends 1/19.
Coming up on 10 minutes in front of 10 o'clock right now, 80 degrees. This morning on Rim Country Forum, talking with your hometown movie guys, and we've been talking about your favorite death scenes in a movie. And obviously, I don't know how best to, if there's a better way of saying that, because it's not necessary. Sometimes these are scenes that are tremendously gratifying. And Tina, you brought up one, though, that is probably one of the most heart-wrenching, and it's not that long ago that we were
No.
enjoying this movie.
The Notebook.
Ah, yes.
Yes, yeah, where she has Alzheimer's, and,
Right.
and that's a death in and of itself.
Sure.
Yeah, that's really sad, but on a more sci-fi note,
Right?
Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Ooh, there you go.
You know, it was originally written back in the 50s as a caution against communism. Yes, everybody who's promoting socialism and communism out there, get a life. The Invasion of the Body Snatchers is basically, where the individual is absorbed into, the group mind and has no control. And then another one, sci-fi, is Daybreakers, which is about vampires. And
Oh.
Willem Dafoe, yes, we
Once
love
again?
him. Again, he's the good guy in this, but that's a really good movie about, vampires, and the premise is very interesting because if you run out of blood, you run out of humans to, you're so successful, your society is vampires.
Right.
There are no more humans, and so they're trying to make synthetic blood. It doesn't work. Ethan Hawke is in that. Really
Very
good.
interesting.
The best Dracula one I thought was Bram Stoker's Dracula with
Oh,
Keanu
man,
Reeves and
yeah.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, Gary
where,
Oldman. Oh, man.
I spent too much time in Romania. And the people over there don't like our fixation with
Yeah.
Dracula.
Well, then there's the horror of Dracula way back in the day with Christopher Lee. That was the first horror movie I ever saw, and he was an amazing Dracula.
But,
Really.
Dracula, the character actually taken off of Vlad the Impaler,
Yes.
Vlad Tempest.
Yeah.
And really, I thought his life was plenty creepy enough. Why do you have
Talk
to...
about bad deaths.
I mean,
I don't know if they've made a movie about him.
They should, because that is some weird,
It's-
twisted
oh,
stuff there, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we got another caller on the line, coming up on 8 minutes in front of the hour. Hi, you're on Room Country Forum. Good morning.
Oh, yes, I
There you go.
agree with you.
The Cowboys,
The
yeah.
Cowboys,
And
yeah.
so, and that's one of those things where, you get so tired of a character, you're glad when they finally take him out, right? Eventually, finally, right? Hey, good point though, we like that one. And, one of the things that you brought up, Craig, a little bit ago during the break was, and it's like a whole nother subgenre that we can talk about here, and that is all of the animal deaths in
Oh,
movies.
sure.
I mean, we mentioned, that from the
Yeller.
Bambi or,
Yeah.
Right.
but Old Yeller, I mean,
Marley and Me.
yeah.
Oh.
There's some, those are some tear jerkers
Hey,
for
how
sure.
about John Voight in Anaconda? Remember that one? He was such a good
yeah.
bad guy who was
Yeah.
using people as bait for these things, and at the end of it, that snake catches him, and you just hear his bones breaking. Yeah, that was.
Again, we have this weird gratification when we watch the bad guy die.
We're sick puppies here.
That's right. Back to the phones again. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Good morning.
Oh,
Ooh,
absolutely.
The Book of
Yes,
Eli.
Yes, that's such a good movie.
Yeah, and what was it about that movie, caller, that stands out in your mind? Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, again, these, the plot twists with, you know, all of these can go so many different directions. Sometimes it's a tragic death and a very realistic portrayal. As you brought up at the very beginning, Craig, the guy in Jaws that gets chomped in half and eaten. That was, they did a pretty realistic job, I think, even by today's standards, and that was done back in the 70s.
70s, yeah.
You know, I can't believe that we have not mentioned the Godfather franchise. But, you
Wow.
know, there are so many amazing deaths in there, you know, Sonny Corleone getting machine gunned down at the toll booth. And then Marlon Brando dying at the end, just in his garden, picking tomatoes. You know, a peaceful death for, you know, such a mafioso guy.
And what about the horse who gave his
Oy,
head?
the horse, oh my gosh, yeah.
Strange. I mean, but
Yeah.
I mean, so many movies from so many years. You know, it's interesting just to hear how we talk about these different characters. Some of them that we're glad to see them go. Others are a tragedy. Any others that stand out in your mind, Keith?
Well, if you look at The Godfather, the first one was, you know, classic. The
Mhm.
second one, in some ways, was even better.
Right.
The third one kind of sucked, but Sofia Coppola, she was Francis Ford's daughter. She dies in the third one, and you know, there it is, their daughter. You know, he and Michael and his wife are estranged, and yet they've come together for this opera performance in wherever it is, at La Scala in Italy. But it's very, very poignant, and Andy Garcia was young and gorgeous and very effective in that movie. So,
You have a pretty amazing memory.
I do.
I mean-
I surprise myself because I can't remember any of this stuff when I'm not in the studio. So
I feel pretty
it's
fortunate.
your
if I-
presence that
Well, thank you, thank you.
elicits it.
I feel pretty fortunate if I remember that there was a Tuesday this week. 5 minutes in front of 10 o'clock. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum. Good morning.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. Yeah.
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 Now, that's boy, Little Women. I hadn't thought about that in a long time, but that's a great point. And thank you. You're not only dating yourself, you dated all of us too. All right, but thanks for the call. We appreciate it. And
Now, what about Citizen Kane?
ooh, there you
Yeah,
go.
where Charles Foster, what is his name? Charles Foster Kane dies at the end.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting. That goes back a few
And
years.
saying Rosebud, and nobody knew what Rosebud meant. It
Mhm.
was really the
The
sled.
third man.
Wow.
Oh, The Third Man, yes, with Orson Welles as well, and Joseph Cotton.
Okay, now,
Yeah.
here's another one that I would say is kind of right up on, towards the top of my list, and this isn't one of these gratifying death scenes, but there was a few in the movie, and in particular, there was one that really caught my attention, but, and I'll let you figure out which one you think it is. The Green Mile.
I wrote that down, I
Right?
agree.
I mean, there was...
Yeah, where the guy got electrocuted and it didn't really work.
Yeah, it became kind of a flambe sort of
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
But then what's the large black man who?
Oh, he sadly passed away.
Yeah, just not too long ago. But
Yeah.
I really love the part that he played in that movie, and I just thought that they did a masterful way of telling a
Mhm.
very unusual story.
Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
Tragic.
yes, with Olivia Hussey.
Wherefore
and I can't
art thou?
remember- Oh,
Shakespeare
man,
tragedies,
that's-
right.
Any of the Shakespeare tragedies,
Right.
yeah.
Good
really.
points.
But that one back in the day where Franco Zeffirelli directed that, he was very young. He actually starred actors in it that were the age that supposedly that Romeo and Juliet were supposed to be.
Right.
Another one is Goldfinger,
Goldfinger.
where he gets sucked out of the plane.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
But, you know, that, I don't know, there's so many different, especially when you start talking war movies, you know, tragic real life stuff. I mean, you know, look, you've got to talk about Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, you know, a
Definitely.
significant death scene there at the end that, you know, Woody from the Toy Story.
That guy, Tom.
Tom Hanks, yeah, thank
yes,
you.
that last
You know,
scene,
yeah,
right.
that was pretty significant, and of course, you know, years later with the guy going and visiting Arlington and
Yeah.
asking am I worth it, that was pretty amazing. Got enough time for one more real quick call here, almost out of time. Hi, you're on Rim Country Forum, good morning. Hi there.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you can't pick a Stephen King movie without somebody, you know, taking a dirt nap, right?
Or Pet Cemetery, in which they actually don't die.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
And Andy missed out on his zombie
Yeah.
yeah.
references here.
Yeah.
Well,
So
see,
many.
it's with him with zombies, so he doesn't
So
believe
many
people
zombies,
actually
so
die.
little
You know,
time.
so.
Yeah, well, vampires too, you know.
There you go.
Yeah.
Undead.
Yeah,
The
vampires
undead,
suck.
yeah.
But anyway, that's all the time we have today for Rim Country Forum. Again, if you want to find out what's playing and when it's playing, you can just go online to sawmilltheaters.com. You can also call their number 24 hours a day at 602-377-0719. Special thanks to Craig and Tina for being with us this morning. Hopefully we'll have Andy back here in the studio with us next week for your hometown movie guys. And we'll come up, we were going to talk about meat in movies, and we're going to get to that eventually too. But we got sidetracked by talking best death scenes today. And thanks for all the phone calls. Obviously got people thinking about that, and that went a lot of different directions. That was kind of fun. Well, Rim Country Forum today has been brought to you by the good folks at Banner Payson Medical Center, George Henry Plumbing, Heating and Cooling, At Your Service Cleaning and Tree Service, Anytime Fitness, ITV Group Computer Services, and Hospitality Wireless. You're listening to Rim Country Radio, KMOG.